Hey y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about dragons, drakes, wyverns, the great flying serpents of the sky, monster ecology style. So dragons are, of course, very interesting because they're intelligent, they're sapient, and yet in most common cultures they lack most of the traits of civilization. Including opposable thumbs. Haha, you can't do this, can you, dragons? But you can spew fire, or lightning, or acid, or poison, or other horrifying things. So perhaps I'll start by going through the cosmology of my world, my draconic creation story and their history. So in my world, the gods created the earth, and it was good. And then unto the earth came evil, the demons, the devils, the dark ones, the things that threatened the security of that world. There was a great war in heaven, and both, of course, decided to leave the earth as a neutral party. But what the demons did to circumvent this is they unleashed the eldritch horrors from beyond the time of the gods, the spawns of Cthulhu, of Sathagoa, of Shub-Niggurath and Nyarlathotep, these horrible crawling agents onto the earth. And the gods, being unable to interpose directly, created dragons to battle against these abominations. They combined all four elements into them. Their bodies and scales being crafted from the earth and metal. Fire being breathed into their bellies that they could spew forth. The wind that will fill their wings and allow them to fly through the air unquestioned. And of course, the water of life that animated them, that made them flesh and blood. And the dragons destroyed the eldritch abominations, forced them beneath the earth into the bottom of the sea, into a torpor and slumber from which we hope they will never emerge. So that is the role of the dragons. They were created as the weapons of the gods. But they have, like mortals, free will, although they may in fact be immortal. But they're tremendously intelligent beings. They know they were sculpted by the gods themselves. They know they have free will. They're the most powerful beings with free will in the world. And in this arrogance, with the earth now depopulated of these horrors, the dragons seized power. They enslaved humanity, or those progenitors of humanity. The poor caveman Neanderthal brutes being forced to pamper their draconic overlords, the age of the dragon kings, the age of the worm. Of course, the dragons eventually created the serpent folk, the lizard man, the draconians. Call them what you will, know them as you like. They created their servants, half man, half dragon, as the ruling caste. And the serpent inside of them, the lizard man, caused them to rise up, and the dragons were overthrown. And ever since, they have been a people without a civilization. They have been intelligent, but they are not a communal beast. They do not seek the company of others. Dragons do not like each other. And this, like bugbears, this has kept them from creating an empire again. United once, but forever sundered. So this is where we join them. They live like animals, but they think like men. They have the power, almost, of a god. So, of course, dragons have a biology very similar to other large reptiles, lizards. They may, in fact, be warm-blooded. I usually run them as being cold-blooded. But there can always be exceptions, especially if you want to get in a frost drake. Now, I would personally solve that by just having the dragons of the north living near volcanoes, hot springs. You can still get them into a cold region, even though they're cold-blooded. But like a magpie, they need to collect a horde. They need to impress a mate. Status is measured both by your size and strength, but also by your horde. Even a dragon of small stature can attract a female if his horde is sufficient. Now, of course, it is traditional. The male collects the horde, he displays, he screams out into the heavens to attract the female. She comes, and if she finds him acceptable, and she may inspect him and leave. She may leave for years, finding others, cataloging in her mind. Because remember, dragons are near immortal, if not so. She is under no time constraint, but eventually she will pick the male she likes best. She will come to him, they will copulate, and then he will leave and begin the process again. He will find a new horde, a new lair. She will be left to raise and rear her young there. And usually the land around this becomes a desolation as the baby dragons come out and they're eating and hunting and growing larger and larger. And during this time, she may even allow other males to come in and mate with her so she can lay more eggs, keep this layer for a longer amount of time. Because remember, dragons are sapient. They have animal instincts, but they have reasoning ability as well. So that is how I usually run dragons. And of course, they can be a great role-playing opportunity. Now, I don't give dragons magic. A lot of people will give them magic. They can shape change and cast spells. I dispense with that. Maybe you could include one individual who has some magical ability as a rare exception, but I would generally just keep them as they are large, immortal, ever growing. So you can have gargantuan, colossal dragons the size of a mountain if you wanted to do that. You could have them mutate and grow extra heads or extra wings, extra arms if you wanted to. You can give them the old stinger tail. I usually randomize the breath weapon of dragons. So a fiery red dragon could certainly birth out a black dragon that spews poison, and a blue dragon that has acid. I make it all completely random. You could divide it into races, into breeds of dragon, but usually for me there's not enough focus on the dragons to make that worthwhile. See my video, Exposition Tax. The more detail you invest, the longer it takes to explore and explain. So if I'm only going to have one dragon or 5 dragons, that's really not enough for me to develop, 5 races of dragons. In order to have 5 races of dragons, I would need like 20 dragons on screen, and that's just never going to happen. So it doesn't happen. Keep it simple. So that's really how I run dragons. I think the interesting part is more the mythology behind it. I really like that mythology that I've developed out. And some of it, of course, stolen. Don't give me full credit. I've stolen parts of that from different sources. But I just wanted to extol the virtues of dragons. So let me know in the comments below, how do you do dragons? What's their history? What's their mythology? Are they animals who think like men, which is what I do? Or are they men who think like animals? And we've all met a few of those in our times. So let me know how you do it, because there's a million ways to do it. None of them are wrong. All of them are right. I think it's always fun to have a dragon lurking about somewhere. So until I see you again, good day and good gaming.